Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing Day 13 Abstract Classes. Abstract classes are an extension of the object-oriented programming concepts that we know and love thus far. We have touched on concrete classes, complete blueprints that can be used to create an object of that type class. And we also learned about inheritance, where if you happen to have a child class that would like to inherit the properties and methods of a parent class, we can use it to prevent code duplication. So in this case, for abstract classes, there are classes that are incomplete blueprints. You can think of them as interfaces where these classes are incomplete and they are expected to enforce methods to be implemented by future child classes that extends from it. And in summary, it's meant to abstract out the common logics that is shared across all child classes that use this abstract base class. If it sounds a little abstract, I'll be explaining a little bit on how it is commonly used in production briefly. So for this task, we're given a book class and a solution class, and we have to write a myBook class that inherits from book, have a parameterized constructor taking 3 parameters. Notice that the title and the author are the same properties that are defined on line 3 to line 5, the constructor for the abstract base book class. And the final task is to implement the abstract display method so that it prints 3 lines, title, author, and price of that myBook object. So in this case, we do not have to deal with the input because HackerRank has already kindly defined the logic for that from line 11 to line 15, and same for the output as well. Our job is to ensure that the myBook class is implemented correctly and ensure that all methods that is extended from the abstract base class book is implemented, which is just one method, display. So with that, let's hop into this question. The first thing that I will do is define the myBook class. And this myBook class will extend the abstract base class book like this. Now we're done, we're ready to start doing the first task, which is to implement the constructor. Because the constructor has one additional price integer parameter, I would have to redefine another constructor instead of just not implementing it. So similarly, it will take in a title which is of type string, an author which is of type string, as well as a price parameter of type integer. And because this is a constructor, this will return back an object of type myBook. And similar to what we went through in the previous exercise, we're going to use the super method to get an object instance of the parent class so we can make use of the parent constructor. And this way, we will avoid code duplication from line 4 to line 5. We will pass in the title and the author, and we will set the price to the input price like this. And just like that, we have defined our own constructor. The next step will be to implement the abstract method display. In this case, because this display method is an instance method, in other words, it can only be called on objects that are initialized by myBook, it has to have a self parameter to refer to the object itself. Also, in this case, because this display method only does printing, the type signature of this is to return none. So in this case, let's start printing the title. Because this is quite trivial, I'll be going through this quite quickly. This is just a recap of the f-string formatting concepts that we have learned thus far. So we are just going to print out the title, the author, as well as the price. Self.price. And that's pretty much it for this question. Let's run this against our test cases. They all passed. And let's submit this code. And we're done. We're done with Day 13 abstract classes. Now to explain a little bit more on why we're learning abstract classes, they are commonly used in production to define an abstract service that is possible to have multiple implementations. One very common example is, for example, a database connector where it has 2 methods. Let's say the first method is an abstract method find one object, and a second method is find many object. So in this case, the find one object method is meant to extract one document from the database, and find many extracts multiple documents from a database. But let's say you have 2 types of databases that your Python service use. The first one can be, for example, a Postgres SQL database. The second type can be a NoSQL database called MongoDB. Depending on the type of database that you use, the implementation for a find one and a find many method can be different. But at the same time, you will want your database connectors to share the same implementations for find one and find many. In other words, you just want to ensure these database connectors of two different flavors still have the find one and the find many behavior. So what we can do is define an abstract-based class called database connector, and we can have a child class, two child classes. The first child class will be called Postgres database connector, and the second one will be called Mongo database connector. And by doing that, by having a Postgres database connector and your Mongo database connector extend from this common parent abstract-based class database connector, you are enforcing your Mongo database connector and your Postgres database connector to have two implemented methods, find one and find many. And imagine you're in the shoes of your colleague. Your colleague can just refer to this abstract-based class to understand what is the shared behavior for both of these two different types of database connectors. In short, abstract classes are commonly used to improve readability and also abstract out common logic that is shared across multiple child classes that inherits from an abstract-based class. If it is still not too clear, we'll be having future videos where we'll have a hands-on experience of how we use abstract classes to improve readability in production. If anything, I just want to reassure you that what you're learning here for abstract classes has a real use in production. And with that, that's pretty much it for this video. If you find this useful, please give us a like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.